5 True Disturbing Horror Stories compilation. Story 1: The Haunted Apartment. In 2017, Jenny moved into a small apartment in a historic building. The rent was cheap, and the location was perfect, but from the first night she felt uneasy. The apartment was always cold, and she often heard strange noises at night: whispers, footsteps, and the sound of furniture moving. One night, Jenny woke up to the sound of her kitchen chairs scraping against the floor. She got up to investigate, finding the chairs neatly arranged around the table, though she distinctly remembered leaving them pushed in. Her heart raced, but she dismissed it as her imagination. A few nights later, she saw a shadowy figure standing in the corner of her bedroom. Frozen with fear, she watched as it slowly moved toward her before disappearing into the wall. Terrified, Jenny contacted her landlord, who reluctantly admitted that the previous tenant had experienced similar disturbances. Desperate for answers, Jenny researched the building's history and discovered that it had once been a boarding house with a dark past. Several residents had died under mysterious circumstances, and their spirits were said to haunt the building. Determined to rid her apartment of its spectral visitors, Jenny sought the help of a local medium. The medium performed a cleansing ritual, but the activity only seemed to intensify. Objects were thrown across the room, and disembodied voices echoed through the halls. One night, Jenny woke up to find herself paralyzed, with the shadowy figure hovering over her. It whispered her name in a raspy voice before disappearing. Unable to endure the torment any longer, Jenny moved out, leaving behind the haunted apartment and its restless spirits. She later learned that the building was eventually condemned and demolished, but the memory of her terrifying experience still haunts her to this day. Story 2: The Roadside Stranger. In 2018, Sam and his friends were on a road trip through the countryside. It was late at night, and they were driving down a desolate stretch of road when they saw a figure standing by the side, hitchhiking. Against their better judgment, they decided to stop and offer a ride. The man they picked up was disheveled and had a sinister look in his eyes. He claimed his car had broken down and he needed a ride to the nearest town. As they drove, the man became increasingly agitated, muttering to himself and glancing nervously at the friends. Suddenly, the man pulled out a knife and demanded they stop the car. Terrified, Sam tried to comply, but before he could, the man lunged at him. A struggle ensued, and one of Sam's friends managed to wrestle the knife away and subdue the man. They tied him up with a spare rope they had in the trunk and drove to the nearest police station. The police took the man into custody and later revealed that he was a wanted criminal responsible for several violent crimes in the area. Shaken by the experience, Sam and his friends continued their road trip, but the memory of the roadside stranger and the terror they felt that night stayed with them long after. Story 3: The Cursed Doll. In 2019, Lisa inherited an antique doll from her grandmother. The doll had glassy blue eyes and a porcelain face, and it always seemed to be watching her. From the moment she brought it home, strange things began to happen. Items went missing, doors creaked open on their own, and she often felt an icy presence in her room. One night, Lisa woke up to the sound of whispering. She turned on the light to find the doll sitting at the foot of her bed, though she distinctly remembered placing it on a shelf in the living room. Horrified, she threw the doll into a box and hid it in the attic. The disturbances only grew worse. Lisa started having nightmares about the doll coming to life and attacking her. She would wake up with scratches on her arms and legs, with no memory of how they got there. Desperate, she researched the doll's origins and discovered that it had belonged to a little girl who had died under mysterious circumstances. The girl's spirit was said to be trapped inside the doll, seeking revenge. Lisa decided to get rid of the doll, but every time she tried to throw it away, it would mysteriously reappear in her home. Finally, she sought the help of a local priest who performed an exorcism. The disturbances stopped, and the doll was finally disposed of. However, Lisa remains haunted by the experience, and she still dreams of the doll's glassy blue eyes watching her. She often wonders if the spirit inside the doll has truly been laid to rest, or if it still lingers, waiting to return. Story 4: The Ghost in the Mirror. In 2020, Alex moved into a new house with his wife, Sarah. The house was old but charming, with antique furniture and a large, ornate mirror in the hallway. From the first day, Alex felt a strange presence in the house, as if someone was watching him. One night, while passing by the mirror, Alex saw a figure standing behind him. He turned around, but there was no one there. Shaken, he told Sarah, but she dismissed it as his imagination. The sightings continued, with the figure appearing more frequently and becoming clearer each time. Desperate for answers, Alex did some research and discovered that the previous owner had died in the house under mysterious circumstances. He had been found dead in front of the mirror, his face twisted in terror. The locals believed that his spirit was trapped inside the mirror, doomed to haunt the house. One night, Alex decided to confront the spirit. He stood in front of the mirror and demanded that it show itself. To his horror, the figure appeared, its face twisted in agony. It reached out from the mirror, its hand passing through the glass and grabbing Alex's arm. He felt an intense coldness and pain as the spirit tried to pull him into the mirror. Sarah, hearing Alex's screams, rushed to his aid and smashed the mirror with a heavy object. The spirit vanished, and the house fell silent. They moved out the next day, leaving the shattered mirror and the haunted house behind. The experience left them both deeply traumatized, and they never spoke of it again. Story 5: The Forest Entity. In 2021, Ben went on a solo camping trip in a remote forest. He enjoyed the solitude and the beauty of nature, but from the first night he felt uneasy. The forest was eerily silent, and he often felt like he was being watched. One night, while sitting by the campfire, he heard strange noises coming from the trees, whispers and footsteps. Ben decided to investigate, thinking it might be other campers or animals. As he ventured deeper into the forest, the noises grew louder and more menacing. He saw shadowy figures moving between the trees, their eyes glowing in the darkness. Terrified, he turned back toward his campsite, but found that he was lost. The shadowy figures began to close in on him, whispering his name. Ben ran, desperate to escape, but the forest seemed to shift around him, preventing him from finding his way. Exhausted and scared, he stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin. He took refuge inside, hoping to wait out the night. Inside the cabin, Ben found old, weathered photographs and journals detailing the experiences of previous campers who had also encountered the forest entity. The writings spoke of a malevolent spirit that haunted the forest, trapping those who ventured too far. As dawn approached, the noises subsided, and Ben was able to find his way back to his campsite. He packed up and left the forest, vowing never to return. The experience left him deeply shaken, and he shared his story as a warning to others. The forest entity remained a mystery, but its presence was undeniable, leaving Ben with nightmares and a lingering sense of dread.